I was laid off last year and have only managed to get one job interview. I have 20 years of experience and I'm worried about my future. I've done some videos about the current state of the US labor market. It's stagnant. It's been stagnant, I believe, for the last 2 years, but a lot of economic data does not really cover this. It's very visible. However, if you're on the market for a job, a lot of this stagnation is in white collar employment. So the office jobs, that is where there's a lot of stagnation. There is a recession, however, in entry level jobs. A lot of the AI disruptions has happened in entry level jobs, and there's talk that with its rapid expansion, certain mid career to senior level roles and even management roles could be impacted. I'm not there yet when it comes to that because I just know that you need certain human input when it comes to certain roles. But let's go ahead and get into the article here. Shaun Chavis has 20 years of experience in journalism and communications. That's one of the problem where I hear journalism. There's a lot of independent journalists, YouTubers, for example. I may be considered a journalist too, right? For example, the media is so segmented right now that a lot of these media roles, you saw CNN, for example, going through multiple rounds of layoffs. A lot of media houses are really trying to even merge in order to survive or stay relevant. She has been ghosted by dozens of employers after applying for jobs. This is very common. About a year ago, I used to randomly apply to jobs just to measure myself with the job market and see where my skill levels were and what to measure myself with the current job market and to see if I was still relevant and what I needed to work on to make myself stand out. So I would occasionally apply to jobs, take the interviews, but would not either take the jobs or demand some ridiculous things that in the past maybe employers would give me, but now they were just not going to give it to me. I would say it anyway, knowing well that I wasn't going to take the job, but I did that. You may disagree and say I'm wasting their time, but I did it to better myself and to see what I needed to do in order to keep staying relevant in my field of work. Rather than continue to be demoralized, she set up her own Substack consultancy. So that's a first step. A lot of people are going into this freelance role, the digital monetization aspect of her specialty, journalism and communications. No shade to them, but these are one of these sectors that I think personally are going to struggle in the age of AI. And I recommend that people like this seek to reskill in other areas or maybe choose the freelance approach that she seems to be doing. All right, so she's 58 years old. She's based in Baltimore. I don't know the local economy there, but so since being laid off last June, I've applied to over 100 jobs and I'm completely boggled by the responses I've received, or rather, the lack of them. So 100 jobs, I think that from June last year, that's not a lot of jobs. You need to, I think you need to at least apply to about 150 to 200 jobs a month. It's very doable, but you have to, some more quality than the others, but you have to really flood. It's a very saturated job market. With that much experience, you have to get visibility because obviously experience is not the problem here. It's just being picked. So you have to, if there's 1,000 openings, you want to make sure that you've covered all of them, right? It's just a numbers game. You got to find the time to apply to a lot of jobs. You really have to do that. With nearly 20 years of experience across journalism, communications, and marketing, I really did not expect to be out of work this long. But the reality is that I've only had one interview. I'm not even getting screening calls. This is why you have to apply to a lot. So 100, you got one interview. Then by scaling this, 200 is a potential that if the numbers hold, you're going to get two interviews, right? This is why I said when you find yourself in a specialty that has been drawn like this, your best shot is to increase the number of applications. You have to make the time to increase the number of quality applications. So I'm not just saying apply, but you have to make time to apply because you're unemployed anyway. So I assume you got plenty of time. Because I'm not the kind of person to just spray and pray, dozens of applications out in the world. I only apply when I genuinely feel I can do the job and I would enjoy it. Yes, you have to apply to jobs that you're qualified for. Remember, you got 20 years of experience. So you're not going to be applying to things that are not in your specialty. You have to apply for the things that you have skills for, but you have to apply a lot. And I'm saying this as somebody that has really tested the market. In the current state of the US economy and in most advanced economies, you have to apply a lot. There's just no picking out the best. You got to really spray it like that. It's been mentally difficult to get rejected so many times. It comes with the territory. I thought I'd be a valuable asset. I was very proud of what I did in my previous company, but it hasn't been easy to just hop over to another company to pick up a new opportunity. Yes, remember, you have to provide a skill that that company needs. So you find yourself in a specialty that is really projected to not do well over time. A lack of awareness is also a problem on your part. You have to be looking around you and asking yourself, is this specialty going to withstand the test of time? And if it's not, you need to evolve. You need to start building strategies to move to towards a different direction. A lot of people don't do that. You need to attend the earnings calls. I think I've said this in one of my videos. You need to attend earning call that your company does every quarter to investors. That is the only way you're going to know internally how your corporation is doing. If it's publicly traded, they have to make these calls. So it is up to you to join these calls so that you can listen in and understand how your CEO is thinking, what direction your CEO is trying to take the company, and how that applies to your skill set. A lot of people don't do that. You have to. I join my company's earnings calls every quarter. And when they send the earnings bulletin through our emails, I sit down and I read it. I've known for the last 5 years that my company was shifting towards artificial intelligence. And also, we're doing SAP migrations. I knew that they were going to need more experienced people in SAP. So that would push you to learn more and more and more, right? You don't just learn the basics, but then you get into a more specialized role or a specialized module to keep you relevant. You have to do that. One thing here that she talks about that I really want to touch on. She says it could be ageism. This is one of the things that I usually run into problems with people complaining. When you're applying to jobs, you're not looking at your age. Maybe being over experienced and overqualified intimidates certain employers to want to pay you because they would think they are underpaying you. And most of the times, if you're being underpaid, you're not going to stay. So I can see that. But these isms that we blame on our failures, racism, ageism, all these isms, it's just an excuse. You got played by not observing or reading the trajectory of your skills, of your specialty. And instead of owning up to it and making the required changes, we always find ourselves in this space where we're picking on something that we can blame on. There's old people that are getting jobs now. It's ageism and racism and all these things. Something that exists, it does. Yes, absolutely. But clearly, everybody can point. Everybody that has been watching can confirm here that AI and generally just the com skills and these specialties have been on a chopping block for a few years now. They just haven't done too well. I've heard from peers that my experience could actually be intimidating to younger hiring managers, not to younger hiring managers, but to the bottom line, because they have to pay you based on how much experience you have. And even though your experience is seen as valuable to the company, because of the labor, remember, you have to look at labor as an economic input, the same way you look at in economics, the same way we look at things like price, demand, and supply. You have to quantify labor in that regard. You're coming in to fill a role, you have the experience definitely to do that. You have even more experience to do that. But can the company pay for that level of experience, even though they really want that experience? They will be underpaying you, and them underpaying you would mean that you're not going to be satisfied, and it can create some toxicity or tensions within the organizations, especially when you find out that you're making the same money as the junior is making, right? So they have to be mindful of that. This is why these companies may not touch people with that much experience, And also, you are literally competing with people that can do the same roles and robots that can do the same roles for a fraction of the cost. So this is actually what the problem is. It's not the fact that it's your age. Now, I've since moved from Atlanta to Baltimore to be closer to family. I've had to rely on them and dip into my life savings to make ends meet. Absolutely. But this is life employment. These are cycles. We're all going to go through good phases, bad phases. More of the lesson here is save during the good periods. You got to save your money and save for times like this because it will come up at some point in your life. We're not all going to be guaranteed a job throughout our work lives. And like I said, a few tips that I leave in this video is attend your company's quarterly earnings calls just to get an idea of what is going on. She says she's had to cut out Netflix. Yes, all these things are discretionary. You can get rid of them. Okay, I've had to cut out Netflix and luxuries like going to the hairdresser. Yes, you can. A little bit of that can help. Remember, there's also two sides to this equation. There's always going to be the income part, and there's also the spending part. And a lot of the times, most people pay attention to the earnings and not the spending. And I am more particular about the spending. What you spend money on is just as equally important, if not even more important than what comes in, because you find that the disbalance is mostly on the other side. Most people spend more money than they take in, hence the reason for so much credit card debt in the US. I want to put my energy into things I have control over. It's encouraging. Long term, I plan to move to Mexico. I don't know if that's a good idea. I'm hoping to get a digital nomad visa. That could be it. That is because she's looking at this from a point of view of saving, because it's seen as much cheaper, slower type standard of living. So with a digital, with money from with earning US dollars and living in Mexico, the assumption is that you're going to be able to save a lot more. Your quality of life is going to be much higher. But also, you got to understand it's a different language, it's a different culture. You have to learn Espanol. And also, most of the times, you have to consider safety issues currently happening in Mexico. You got to put all that into consideration. And you have to understand that whether I don't know how much money she can make from her content and Substack to be able to live overseas, but if you can't make money from the US, there's no way you can make money in Mexico. And that's going to make this situation even a little bit more difficult, really difficult. She says, I've connected with other Black Americans living in Mexico City. But as we all know, Mexico City is the hub for gringos go home. So again, I don't know how old this article is, but it only came out yesterday. So it must have been Tuesday, February 24th. It was on the Insider. Right. Anyway, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section.